Hey guys, what's up? It's Melody, and today we have an organizing extravaganza. Organizing is probably my favorite subject after minimalism. I cannot watch enough organizing videos on YouTube, and so if you love organizing, this is definitely your channel. So give us a subscribe down below. Just click on the red button, and today we're going to get right into these organizing tips. The very first tip is to make everything float. That is a very common theme on my channel. I love to defy gravity. I love for everything to be elevated so that I can wipe up easily after everything, and it also gives it a kind of otherworldly look to your apartment. Makes it look very modern and kind of cool. I like to make everything float, especially my bath mat. Do not like to have stuff on the bathroom floor. It's because when I want to sweep or vacuum really quickly with my cordless vacuum, the last thing I'm going to do is pick up trash cans or pick up a bath mat. So why not make everything float? If you put it on a hook or a nail, it dries so much faster in my opinion. So if you want to nail it, just get your stud finder. Make sure you're not nailing into any electrical equipment and get to hammering away. I like to use a clear hook because I really like clear. A clear hook only works on flat surfaces. So if you have a wall that's spackled a little bit or has rough texture, it's probably not going to work as well. In that case, you just want to grab your hammer and get to hammering. The very next tip I have is also closely related to floating, but the first thing I want to say is when organizing jewelry, my favorite methods of organizing jewelry is to have things hidden. So I have these nice cute little boxes from the Container Store, but the point I wanted to make is that you can make things float. Well, you know, when we're young, we're creative, we play with Legos and we build structures that almost seem to defy gravity, and then as we get older, we kind of lose that ingenuity to create our own solutions. When I leave the house, sometimes I'll use pasty bras, and so I want to keep them underneath my jewelry. So how I did that is I just used these lock-up containers that I already had on hand. So I just used 2 of them, and then that way I can place my bras underneath. I can place this against the wall and it's completely sturdy, so I can get my bras underneath, but I also can get my jewelry. I know that tip isn't for everyone, but if you can utilize pasties instead of bras, it will really be a load off. My next tip is to use containers you already have on hand. So with those lock-up containers that I use for travel, I already had them on hand, so it's a perfect solution. You don't want to be buying specialty organizers that when you declutter things, you would not be able to find a new use for it. Life is transitory. The baby will grow up. Kids will move out and go to college, and then you're going to be stuck with all these special containers. So it's better just to use containers that you can easily transition from one stage of life to the next. And so that's why I use those lock-up containers. I really like clear shoe boxes because they can be used for everything. And I love using these Polish cups that I got from Target, only $2. I love using them to organize things as well. So I'm using them to organize my dishwasher pods, and I keep these dishwasher pods in an over-the-door organizer. So over-the-door organizers are perfect if you want to make things float so that things are easy to wipe down. I will have a whole video on just how to make things float in your house coming up. The overarching theme is hide as much as you can, make things float as much as you can, and use containers you already have or containers that can easily be used for something else. If the things in this glass get decluttered, it's a drinking glass, so I don't have to waste it or donate it. You want to think about your future whenever you're making a purchase. The next tip I have is to write your recipe cards in a smart way. How I write down the ingredients when I'm writing down a recipe card is in the order that it's going to go into the recipe or into the pot. So I'm writing it down and then I'm bubbling it into categories. So for instance, if you have a chili and the first section is to saute all the veggies together. Well, all of those veggies that I'm going to be sauteing together with the olive oil is going to be in bubble 1. When you're writing it down, you can even circle around it and put a 1. So that's bubble 1. So when you're writing down the directions, it should look something like this. Saute bubble 1. That's all you got to put, so you don't have to put saute, green peppers, onions, carrots, so on and so forth. You're going to be cluttering your whole recipe card when you could just put everything into bubbles. Another thing I want to say about cooking in general is to know the layout of your store. So because I'm a minimalist, I rarely ever keep little coupons because they're just not worth my time. Only the big coupons that are 20% off or more are the ones that I'm going to keep. So this is a luxury that I've made room in my budget to afford, never having to clip coupons. The only coupons I use come through my email. Therefore, I can shop at only one store. So I have a paper and I lay out the aisles. So how you can do this is you can either go into each aisle and take a picture of the top aisle where it says what is in each aisle, then go home and map it out. But nowadays I realize most grocery stores are laid out almost always the same. So basically all of the essentials are on the perimeter and all of the junk food is in the center. I'm laying out my grocery shopping list. I have that in my mind. I know where everything is, and so I'm laying it out so that it's all one seamless trip around the perimeter. Yes, exercise is important, but I'd rather exercise on my own free time in nature than going back and forth in grocery stores trying to get extra stuff because I didn't lay out my list efficiently. My next tip, it has to do with cords. Cords are probably the bane of our existence as organizers because there's nothing more ugly than black cords running against a white wall. So the first thing I do is I try to get lamps and other things with a clear cord or a gray cord, so it's already going to blend in. A lot of things come with clear cords except for electronics, unfortunately. Thankfully, electronics will probably go cord free before anything else, so I'm just waiting on that day because black cords, they definitely ruin the look of an office. So what you want to do is you want to get a cord box. You can buy one pre-made, which if you're going to have your equipment on all of the time, you definitely want to have one that's pre-made so it's safe. But for things like the printer that I rarely ever have on or the TV, I will make my own cord box. So you can just cut out a cardboard and cut 2 holes in it, and there you go. It's a cord box. If you're just going to need a little bit, you can use a tiny little box. And I put some wallpaper on top of here so it would look nicer because the original box was pretty ugly. Cord boxes kill 2 birds with 1 stone because they allow you to shorten your cords too. If your cords are too long, which often they are, you can stuff all of the excess inside of the cord box. Another thing I wanted to say is this works perfectly if you have the remote control outlets that I always talk about. I have 3 sets of these in my house because they make turning things on a breeze, but especially hiding cords a breeze because everything can flow into the same outlet. It shuts off all power to the outlet when you turn it off, so it's not sapping extra electricity, so it's very eco-friendly, and it's also safe to keep cords in a cardboard box when you have a system like this in your house. My next tip has to do with organizing toothbrushes. I am adamant that this is the best way to organize toothbrushes. I've seen a million ways, but this way is the best way because there's nothing more annoying than toothbrush water getting everywhere, all over your sink, all over your caddy or whatever you store it in. So the number one way to store it is to make sure you have a little mini towel. Any towel, it doesn't need to be expensive, it's just sopping up water. And white is ideal because it's going to be turning everything white. And you just lay your toothbrush on there. You can put multiple toothbrushes there so that they're all drying instantly because the towel's soaking up the water and it's not dirtying the caddy that it's in. So if you have to keep things in a caddy on the counter where the toothbrush is popping up like that, make sure you put a little piece of cloth in there so it's not getting all grimy as the water's rolling down. But for me, I like keeping it in a long container like that so it has a lot of room to breathe. And that's the ideal way and most simple way to organize toothbrushes so that you're not creating extra work for you. Remember, everything is with your future self in mind. When you're finding organizing systems, you want to find the best possible one so you're not creating extra work for yourself, and so that when things move in life, you can easily transition these towels to another use. The next tip is I rarely ever store anything under the bed ever. But the one exception I have is big, bulky winter coats. Those are perfect to store underneath the bed. Another thing that works really well underneath the bed is also maybe your nightstand stuff. So for me, I keep a trash can underneath the bed and I slide it out every time I want to throw something in there. Therefore, I don't have an ugly trash can right by my bed. You can also keep your nightstand stuff underneath there if you don't have any nightstand, any place to keep a nightstand. An ideal nightstand, in my opinion, is one that floats, and there's plenty of them on Etsy, so I'll link a few of my favorites down below. If ever I have to buy another nightstand, I'm definitely going to go with one that floats. My very last tip is to use creative solutions when it comes to storing your shoes. So for me, using a creative solution was basically throwing all of my flats and all of my slippers into one pail like this. Having all of these in a pail means that I could install a very little clear shelf, which I have a whole video on just how to install those little clear shelves so easily, even if you've never installed anything. But I just install a little clear shelf, and to give it some extra stability, I put some Velcro on one side, and then I stuck the Velcro to the wall so that the pail will definitely not fall off. I use Velcro for everything. Velcro on the back of my remotes all the time, but also it can be used to stabilize things. So always think of creative solutions wherever you can. There is a creative solution to solve anything that is a must. Most things can be eliminated in your life. Most possessions, most chores. But the things that are left, there's a creative solution just waiting for you to find. So when you do find it, make sure you share it with the rest of us, because I love to hear your solutions too. I hope this video helped you out. I hope you got tons of organizing tips. Definitely give my channel a subscribe so that I can see you next Sunday in the next minimalist and organization video.